Välkommen till programmet Tro och under som vi sänder från Mediemission precis som vanligt på söndagskvällar. Jätteroligt att du är med oss ikväll. Ikväll har vi återigen en fantastisk kväll framför oss. Vi brukar alltid ha program som riktar sig på specifikt ändamål och även den här kvällen så ska vi prata om Israel. Vi tycker i det svenska arbetet att det är så viktigt att lyfta Israel för att det är ett viktigt ämne, det är ett viktigt land och en viktig historia och framförallt också en viktig framtid. Vi tror att Israel är en viktig part i det som händer i världen faktiskt. Också utifrån den teologiska, bibliska kontexten. So tonight I have the honor to have Pirjo Kartonen with me again. Welcome.
Thank you, Morgan, again.
Once again, I want to say that when we talk about Israel, I think it's special programs because so many people in Sweden love Israel. Been there for vacation and the sun and bathing and so, but Israel is more than just bathing and sunning.
Yes. I think the whole focus in the world will be more and more to Israel when we live forward.
Yeah, I said that now just in the intro here that Israel is so interesting because of the history.
Yes.
And what's happening,
yes.
But first of all, also in the future, of course. So
yes.
Because you and Vladimir, your husband, has been working with Israel for so many years, and I know you love the Jewish people all over the world. But today we will focus on Israel.
Yes.
And I must say that I know that you also feel that when something happening in other countries. Now, for example, in Ukraine, it's a disaster. It's insane what's happening. But in the same term, we must realize that things are happening all over in other countries as well.
Yes.
During the same time.
Yes.
Because the media is always focusing on one task at a time. So.
Yeah.
But Israel is still there, and Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East.
That is true, and is fighting for it, keeping it that way. Yeah.
I think so. And we will talk about some different kind of important things today. But first of all, your Israel ministry is involved in what we call March of Life.
Yeah, March of Life is an international movement, originally started in Germany, and but IRR-TV, we are member of this movement already maybe 5-6 years,
okay.
And it's. March of Life, it sounds maybe a strange name for the organization. Many people think it's that we are just marching somewhere. Well, we are. Yes, we are marching. But the name comes from the Second World War when there was this March of Death. When these concentration camp people, they were moved away and they were put on a March of Death. Yeah. And it started that in Germany, they made the first kind of March of Life when Christians were marching the same routes as was a March of Death. And from that it has been grown in international movement. And I think 5 years ago, they came to Finland. I invited them. I saw them, what they are doing. And one thing they want to bring up that we don't forget what happened last World War, and not only what has happened, but because we see, and it's very actual now when we have a war in Ukraine, and that it left after the war so many wounds in so many people, and not even in those people who were in World War, both sides. Those who were dying and those who were Nazis and so fascists and so what they did, but also in the second generation, third generation until today. Yeah. And this movement wants to talk about that and also to bring in today's world that this would never happen again. And that's why we are also, even if it's not straight evangelism, but it's showing love.
Yeah.
And that is the gospel also.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, and we have been, in Finland we organized maybe 3 years ago, the first kind of also March of Life in Helsinki. There were thousands of Finnish people involved in it, and also annually we have got smaller ones. And once a year, but the pandemic of course made exceptions now, in Israel, many nations around the world, they gather together there. They have, and they work together with Knesset and many other Israeli organizations, and they have meetings, conferences, and also we march in the center of Jerusalem. I had a Finnish group with me also, and I think there were people from Sweden also there. We were more than, I think, 6,000 people there. And now, after this COVID pandemic is now getting easier and Israel is welcoming tourists, it will be again kind of happening on event in Israel. It's not in Jerusalem this time. That we Christians want to go everywhere in Israel, and it's called March of the Nations, and it's called Israel Trail. In Israel is, like we said, it's a tourist country. It's a beautiful country, and we Christians, we are divided to walk these walking tours in Israel, and same time showing that we stand with Israel.
Yes, there it is.
Yes, and
so there is it's a stand.
It's a stand. Yes. We lift our voice. I think it's important because anti-Semitism is growing very rapidly. Just today I read the news that during the COVID pandemic there were a lot of kind of anti-Semitic acts around Europe. Almost every European Parliament, I don't know how it is in Sweden, but there is a kind of committee against anti-Semitism who's monitoring, and they said that it has grown many times higher. This all kind of anti-Semitic talkings and actions, and so they said that COVID is a fault of Israel, and all kind of nonsense they are talking about. So it's important. It's alive. It's alive in Europe. It's alive in Israel, of course, we know, and also it's alive in Eastern Europe and everywhere.
I think in Sweden as well, especially maybe in Malmö, it has been anti-Semitism
I have heard.
so openly. So I read that so many Jews have left the country. Actually,
and it's not only that. This kind of traditional anti-Semitism, what has happened, for example, in Malmö and so, but it's just generally this politics that now we are, when in the Second World War we were against Jewish people, now we are against Israel as a state. It has just changed a little bit the form.
It seems like this little country, Israel, and the Jewish people is targeted from all over the whole time. But also in one way, we know as Christians, as a believer, that the Bible tells us that this will happen.
Yes.
But they will prevail.
They will prevail.
But it's so important that you tell us about this, because we have to take a stand. Of course, and nothing else is totally wrong. And I would like to invite also Swedish-speaking Swedish people to come to Israel in May. It's 22nd of May, and in a website, March of Life, you can register and tell that you are coming. And very good. And otherwise, you continue the work in Israel. We have seen the pandemic or so, but still we're working towards the Israel. And I know that so many people in Sweden, believers, they really love Israel, and they are concerned about to take a stand. And maybe the younger generation don't know so much and have not so much information since before. Therefore, it's so more important that the older one take a stand.
That is really, it's also my personal and our IRR-TV, our concern, younger generation. And in May 9th, so it's very soon. We will have a kind of Zoom conference where we have invited from Israel, from Eastern Europe, young people who tell about their mission, and we pray together with them to young generation to stand up. And I'm happy. I have seen many young people, but it's far too little. That we have to encourage young people, and it goes. We can do it by IRR-TV through our ministry, but also I see it have to be on a kind of how to say, grass level.
Grass level.
In congregations, and this information what we talk just about this world media, that we have to tell other kind of information.
But I think in the churches, in the congregations in Sweden, they are not lifting Israel and take a stand as they should do. They don't do that. So therefore it's a challenge for the churches.
Yes, it is a challenge. I have myself been in my local congregation talking a lot that the Israel ministry inside the church is not just that you have an Israel prayer group. Because then it's a separate small group that is praying, and all the other members of congregation, well, it's their thing. But I have been telling you, you have to start from Sunday school, you have to start with the youth ministry. In every our Sunday meetings we can pray for Israel, and it's inside our Christian life.
And I know some examples from Sweden where the Israeli flag has been together with the Swedish flag in the church context, and there have been argument.
Yes.
Because the Swedish flag and the Israeli flag is together. So
in my congregation we had that kind of conflict, but it's already many years ago. But it's common, I know.
So therefore, out of that we have to inform young people, and also the young pastors and preachers and the church leaders.
Church leaders, yes, it is important. And what I wanted to say still, that it is so. We have to tell people to read Bible, to read Old Testament, and what God has promises. If we are Christians and we read Bible, we see what Bible tells about Israel. It's God's chosen nation, in spite of their own faults, and they are far away from perfect, like the Bible shows it also. So, but if we read and believe Bible, then we should all stand.
The New Testament is confirmed by the Old Testament. It's so important. That's a deep thing. But I know also that you have started to produce new TV programs.
Yes. And in November we had with you kind of video program about in Jerusalem, and we were there shooting many programs, and now they are already, many of them, most of them are ready, and they are broadcast in several channels in Russian-speaking world. Like we have this big channel, Greek TV in Russia, and they have become, I could say today, when we live in this wartime, more important, because all the news programs, for example, about what tell about Israel and how Israel is telling about the war in Ukraine, it's opposite what Russia is told. And those TV channels cannot show our news programs anymore in Russia. But of course, in Baltic countries we saw, and through internet and through YouTube, also our news programs. But that's why this. Programs that tell about the country of Israel is prophetic meaning and other, but which just should they are more and watch today, because they give comfort, they give something nice, something else than war. And so we are very happy that we were able to go to November, and in May, when we go to this March of the Nation tour, we'll same time shoot new programs again. And
wonderful. And as you said earlier in the program, that now we are middle of a war zone in Ukraine. It's so easy to forget other country, and also Israel, of course.
Yes, yes.
But as we know, there are still, and just I think it was last week, it was some terror acts in Israel.
There have been several.
So it's continuing to.
It's continuing. It has been like in Beersheba. There were several people killed, and then in Tel Aviv, and I think there were 5 places.
Yeah.
And today, media shows quite a little attention on that, and that's
almost nothing.
Yeah, almost nothing, and that's those terrorist movements. They are using that chance that they can now freely do, and so. And other thing is that also Iran is now. So little is talked about what's happening in Iran. That Iran is now quite free to develop their own nuclear weapons and so, because attention is somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no pressure for them, and we are, in that sense, I think we are living very dangerous times, and we have to pay attention for that, and we have to pray for Israel.
Yeah.
All the time. That we must not forget, like the Bible says, that. We must pray for peace of Jerusalem.
But when you're talking with your colleagues and your partners in Israel, how do they feel? I mean, they are still under some attacks, and maybe some hidden attacks. But how do they live their daily life?
They live like we do.
But there must be some
of course,
there's
tension.
Worries.
All the time there's tension there, that you have to be all the time ready. And but meanwhile, while you are all the time in your brains, you are ready. You live your daily life. Otherwise you cannot live.
No.
Yeah, you have to go to work. Children go to school and kindergartens, and you have to develop the country, and so they live. But there's all the time you feel the kind of tension.
Yeah.
And also, I see that one thing that, because they have that tension, I see that Jewish people are also very, how to say, happy people. They are the 7th happiest people in the world. They have to have something opposite of this tension, so that they have feast and then they celebrate, and so that that's how they live.
Yeah.
So, but of course, there's. All the time there is. And
Israel has always been known for its generosity, open hearts, and this. I mean, small country. It's not big country.
Yeah.
It's a small one.
Yeah.
They always standing there with open arms, and now.
Yeah.
Also, when
they help Ukraine, and they help many countries where there have been earthquakes or floods or whatever kind of catastrophe. Yeah. They help because they know what it means to get help. Yeah.
Because almost always, when you're listening to and see the reports from different kind of war zone in the world, the Israeli people, the competence and so on is there first.
Yes. Yes.
They means that it's really important for them.
Yeah.
Because they know how to be helped. As
yeah. They have helped, for example, in this war in Syria. To get people there, they have to treat it in Israeli hospitals, and so. Yeah.
But also now, when we're talking about Ukraine,
yes,
people have come to Israel. They open up their arms for Ukrainian people.
Yes.
Do you know approximately how many people they have come?
Today's statistics. Now we can say we are living April now. Yeah. It's 12,000 people have moved from Ukraine, but it's continuing all the time, and they are ready to take Israel, ready to take 200,000.
200,000.
200,000 is quite a lot. Housing and having so, but they are ready to take them, and they are moving. And one very interesting. I read it in, maybe I saw two, 3 places in the news, but then I have lost them. Also, not only in Ukraine, also in Russian Jewish people are moving from Moscow. There are straight flights to Israel. Okay. They are also moving. They are also leaving, and that Jewish people are going back home, I could say. Yeah.
Why do you think the Russian Jewish people go home?
First of all, I think they are not so much inside. They don't believe this Russian propaganda. That is not going on anymore. They have connections. They know what's going on in the world. They see the threat for themselves, and so that's why they see it now is their time to move. But I don't have any figures how much. But I know there are many planes. And
so what we can say is that it's important to take a stand for Israel and to bless Israel and to be involved in Israel.
Yes, yes, it's very, very important, and to show to Israeli people that we stand with them, and also we as a IRR-TV media Christian ministry, we want to stand beside also the local congregations there. Yeah, because like this wartime in Ukraine now, that a lot of the congregations are helping there and supporting them, like we do here in Finland and I think in Sweden and all over Europe. So also Israeli believers are there also playing very, very big role in that.
So we can say once again that this is very important for Israel, that we stand with them, but it's also important for our own countries, because when we bless Israel, we will be blessed.
Yes, yes, that is true. That is true. That is true. That it is a promise for us, and it should be, even that there are people who don't feel it in their heart. We should read the Bible and understand it in our brains. What God has said. They are simple facts. You can say, kind of formulas that God has given to us. So.
It's very important, because I believe and I think that Israel is a very important part of our ministry, what we're doing in the mission work.
Yes.
Because if we lose the perspective for Israel and what's happening, we maybe lose quite a lot.
Yes. Yes, yes.
So therefore, it's important to have these programs also, and to to manifest.
Yes, to manifest it and tell to others and teach others and to each other on just in a friendly level. You can say to your friend and so on. And we, as a media ministry, of course, try to do it through media.
So we want to say to all our friends and mission partners in Sweden in our mission work that Israel is very important, so they can give to our 90 account and specific right Israel, and also mail to info@mediemission.se, and if they want to have further questions, you can answer that mails also, of course.
Yes, of course. We are very happy to answer.
Yes, Pirjo, time is flying away, as always, and this is very informative programs, and we think it's a prophetic time to take a stand for Israel.
Yes, that's right.
Now. It's very important.
Right now. We have to see what time we are living now. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Pirjo, for this time, and God bless you. Och vi vill bara säga till dig, du som finns med oss i Sverige, och att vi har ju missionstidning som heter Mediemission. Den ser ut så här. Och mediemission.se. Där kan du läsa om allt det som sker. Vill du ha specifik information om Israel, då mejlar du till info@mediemission.se. För det finns mycket mer information om Israel än vad som står i tidningen här. Och då kan du få direktkontakt med Pirjo och Vladimir Kartonen, och du kan få information som inte alltid ryms i tidningen och som kommer fram. Så känner du för detta och vill ge en gåva in i det här arbetet, så använder du vårt 90-konto eller Swish-nummer som finns på vår hemsida mediemission.se. Använd också Facebook och Instagram, där vi skriver om det som sker i vårt arbete, och det kanske inte vi kan skriva om allt det som sker, men vi brukar fokusera på det som är liksom just nu. Så följ oss gärna där också. Så vill vi önska dig Guds rika välsignelse och hoppas att du är med oss igen nästa söndag. Tack!